Hello and welcome to another horrific review. Join us as we continue our deep dive into the film adaptations of Clive Barker's work. Today we're discussing Dread. Released in 2009, this movie tells the story of three college students who, while conducting a study into fear, end up going down a dark path. The film was directed by Anthony DiBlasi, I think it is, or DiBlasi. I think it's DiBlasi. It was released initially at the Montreal's Fantasia Film Festival. And that's really all the information I have about it because box office returns, budget, there's really not very much information about this movie.
Well, with this, it was released as one of the 8 films to die for. I had to look that shit up last night because
the anthology.
Looking at the timeline, it's like, why the fuck didn't I see this in theaters? This is right up my alley. This is right when my wife and I were literally at the theaters every weekend. So I was like, why the hell did I miss this? And then, I found the cover art and it was one of the 8 films to die for. So I was like, that makes sense. It would have been released on HBO or Stars or some shit.
All right. Definitely one of his less talked about endeavors. And I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing. I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm confused. We have a torn about this, how I feel about, I don't know, the movie itself, but in relation to being a Clive Barker work and my expectations, maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I'm conflicted. Hopefully we can unpack it during the stream.
Well, for me, it very much felt like, the adaptation from Midnight Meat Train, the story, to the film. Like, it definitely felt like that, where it's within the same world, the same basic idea, but they added just so much shit on top of it, which, I mean, of course you have to do to make a 20-page story, an hour-and-a-half movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know that anything that they added to this film from the short story actually benefited it.
I agree.
And plus, they took away from the 20-page story.
Yeah,
that's the
thing.
Had
stuff in, which I'm just like going, what the hell?
Yeah, especially because this is, I mean, yes, it's the tail end of the torture porn era, but it's still right in the torture porn era, where they could have just easily adapted the book verbatim and extended those scenes to, and people just be like, yeah, fucking jerking off to that shit.
Yeah, because they did it with Cheryl, because in the book it's photographs he just showed. Now that would have been like a 2-minute flipping scene, but doing it with video is possible. So I don't know. Okay, let's talk about it first as a movie in its own right. Decent watch or no?
Yeah. I'll rewatch it, definitely. Especially because usually with these, me and my wife watch them together the night before, so I'm fresh on it. She wasn't able to hang, so she missed like an hour of the movie. So I'll definitely be rewatching it. I liked it.
Yeah, I remember watching it when it came out and enjoying it for what it was, and then forgot all about it and then rewatched it again. I was like, oh, I've seen this. Like, we were like 10 minutes in, and my wife and I were like looking at each other like, we've seen this, right? Like, this is a thing. And I was like, oh, I got it now. I remember exactly everything. It just sort of flooded back in my memory. And the thing is I don't like the actors. I don't like the acting. I don't like the film choices, but I enjoy the film. And I don't understand it. And I think it's all wrapped around that one meat-eating scene.
Yeah. I agree.
The premise of the story. I mean, the idea behind it, and psychological thriller, the idea of pushing the boundary of your own fear and dread.
Yeah.
But the actors are generic as hell.
And I was pretty disappointed afterwards because I looked up the one actress, the one that had the birthmark, and I was like, where the fuck did they find her? Nope, just makeup. It's like, that's fucking disappointing.
5 hours, 2 to 5 hours to put that on.
Oh, I believe it.
Every single day.
Like the face, easy as shit because that was dark, but the rest of the body getting that texture and that blending out, I believe it.
And that was the thing; she was an add-on character.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there was so many people for one person's dread, because ultimately everybody in there was what Stephen essentially says in the book, for the most part. like the being deaf and all that shit. And it's like, why couldn't they just have it be him? Why do they have to have secondary characters for that?
Well, and then they replaced his fear with the car, which didn't pay off. It just didn't work at all.
No.
And why Quaid would want to crash into the wall to, I don't know, get this near-death experience or something made no sense to pay off his, like the entire thing is just Quaid trying to come to terms with he's a terrified kid because of a horrific incident in his childhood. You know, this axe murderer killed his parents.
Yeah.
And so because of that, he's trying to witness other people's moment of fear to try to figure out a way of dealing with, coping with, coming to terms with, or just getting around his own fear.
Yeah.
And in the process, like, he's creating the monster that ultimately is going to kill him, except in the film, that doesn't ever happen. And so you're like, is he the bad guy? Am I supposed to be rooting for him?
That was my confusion, because in the book, Quaid is quite an interesting character.
Yeah.
He's very calculated. He has a purpose, and it's not until the end of the story that we get the reveal what his dread was, because we never talked about his dread. In the movie, it's like almost, it's the opening scene, you know, he just starts off. And
yeah, damn near.
And that was actually one of the questions, like, is this part of when did this Hollywood culture start creeping in that you're not allowed to be a villain? Or villains have to be I hate that term, anti-hero, but they have to be anti-heroes, they have to be understood. Part of the fun of like horror movies is the basic battle between good and evil. It's always been that, be it religious or otherwise, or moral, you know what I mean? It's always been that conflict.
Yeah. Well, and
you know what I mean, the angel and demon on your shoulder sort of thing, you know.
Right.
Well, it's one thing to have a villain that believes he's right, because ultimately that's the sign of a proper villain is everything that they're doing, they're not doing because they're fucking, you know, Snidely Whiplash out there twirling his mustache with a top hat and a cape. Like, they legit believe in their mind, like they are doing what is right. So that aspect, that makes sense. But yeah, like we don't need to feel bad for Quaid. Like, throughout the entire short story, you're just like, wow, this guy's a cunt. But then it's like, well, is he really a cunt? Because people are volunteering to do this. I mean, Steven definitely doesn't, but like Homegirl, she volunteered to do that shit. So it's like, it's always that guess. It's like, okay, is he really that big of a cunt or not?
And that's where they kind of messed it up as well in the movie, because in the book, she volunteered. And, you know, they had the discussion and decided, but here in the movie, they make him out to be basically a serial killer.
Yeah.
And it just got more ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, seeing the amount of pills that he dumped in the sink. I mean, for one, there's a fucking perfectly good toilet behind you. Everybody knows if you got to flush shit, you literally flush it. You don't put it.
It's not as dramatic.
But
you don't get them looking in the mirror shot and then the bin. You know, what is it with people not putting bags in bins? That cracks me the fuck up.
That's the way you picked up from the scene?
Yeah. that fucking, you know, you put a bag in it, then you can tie it up and throw it out. Fucking people just drop shit. Like, you know, when you think for cotton buds or something, you drop into that, that's going to stain all the inside. Like, what the hell's wrong with people?
Yeah. Exactly. It's like you bring plastic bags home from shopping, just fucking use those.
Yeah.
God. And why is it, because another thing I picked up, what is it with fucking serial killers' houses? They always have to be dirty shitholes.
I mean, I would probably kill motherfuckers too if I lived in a shithole.
Yeah. I mean, he intentionally picked that. You know, they paid it off in the short story, of course.
Yeah, no payoff in the movie whatsoever.
Yeah,
but
no.
Knowing that the reason why it's out there, it makes perfect sense. It's like you know,
it's still livable, maintained. It's this like Cameron said, the torture porn era. Everything has to look dirty and grimy and gritty. You know, generic as fuck.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I as much as that's stupid, that is one thing that I do miss about this era of filmmaking is how.
We haven't done it yet, Chris.
Just dark and gritty everything is. Like the contrast of lighting, you know, the color filters, so that it just drains the color out of everything. Like I truly miss this era of filmmaking. Like it might not be good, but it looks pretty.
Yeah, it does remind me of like every Hellraiser film after 4, or maybe arguably after 3. It just has that same sort of low budget camera look, and like the filtering they're using on their cameras to create that sort of darkness makes the blacks too black, and so it has this signature appearance of almost like an after school special version of a horror film, where
Yeah.
it doesn't quite look right, but you're just gonna have to swallow the visuals in order to get into the story, and then you get into the story and you're like, no, that's not quite right either. That doesn't really land well. The thing is, I don't know if it was just being polite, but Clive Barker said that he's fine with how this filmmaker sort of twisted it. It's not his take on it, but in his quote on this was that, which is ironic because it's against every other quote he's ever made. He likes it when filmmakers take source material and own it and create their own thing with it.
Which is like, fucking funny coming from him.
Maybe he just wasn't that emotionally invested in this particular. I mean, it was a short story at the end of the day, 20 pages, part of a book. Maybe he just wasn't that emotionally invested. Which we'll finish off a series, obviously, with a piece of resistance, Hellraiser. That was his baby.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm quitting this like a grain of sand in my eye or something. There's like I'm just scratching that while watching this movie. There's just something bugging me.
The theme, the story itself is on par with the best of Edgar Allan Poe. Like this is like just a very simple, tight-knit, beautiful bow on it. And reading this story again, it actually scares me. Like the idea of being trapped on that like weird grate in the darkness, not knowing how far off the ground you are, like it's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
And it really genuinely got under my skin and bothered me. Watching the film, the meat one bothered me, but everything else, I was just like,
those glass. That was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it was fucking gross.
It was like Princess Bride when he was like torturing him, Wesley, like underground.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous.
Yeah, that shit was pretty fun.
This was that removes an entire scene, a whole sequence.
Like arguably the best too, and the cheapest to shoot.
Yeah, dark room.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I don't understand that aspect of it, because that would have been so easy to shoot, like on location. But yeah, like I was the same way. Like this is probably, aside from, I want to say Cold Heart Canyon. And Cold Heart Canyon, it didn't really scare me, but there's aspects of it that just really got under my skin. Probably the fact that I'm reading it at like 2 a.m, half asleep. Whatever. But yeah, like reading this one, this actually fucked me up. Like it's, I was like, wow, holy fuck, I can't wait to watch the movie. This is gonna be crazy. And then last night I was like, oh, okay. So it's like any other Clive Barker adaptation where all the tasty bits are left out.
And that's the thing. This is not a graphic. It's not a graphic story, as in physically graphic. It's a psychological horror. And yeah, that's not what we expect from Barker. He's a couple of his short stories, but generally he's supernatural monsters. That's his whole vibe, and that's what you kind of expect on the screen. So this was a perfect example to showcase his other side of the writing. The scariest monster is human.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, because it can actually happen. I don't know. Just I really, if I hadn't read the book or there's a story, I maybe would have had a completely different take on this. Just as a even a throwaway movie, there's enough elements there to be enjoyable, but when I'm comparing it, and if it had been like an adaptation of like Lord of the Rings or something size book, I would get it. Or if there wasn't, like the Midnight Meat Train, right? There wasn't enough in that short story to put in the movie, so you can understand why they had to expand. That's fair enough. You can see the logic behind it. I'm just not seeing the logic behind this movie, what they were trying to do.
They added more shit than was necessary.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, like directors feel like if they're not putting their stamp on it, then they're not really contributing to the overarching making of it as much as if they just directed it alone. And if you want to get bigger and bigger movie scripts and budgets, you have to have something that you can say, no, this was mine. And so instead of saying, no, this is just a Clive Barker piece that I adapted, he's like, no, I took Clive Barker and I made it a good movie, in his head.
Mm-hmm.
And so I genuinely think that's why they do this, is that they want.
But how many times has that actually worked out?
Use it to propel themselves to the next project.
Well, never. That's the ironic thing, is like a good director is literally just a manager. Mm-hmm. They have an idea, but everybody else's ideas gets thrown in as well. I mean, arguably some of the greatest decisions ever made in film and TV history has been from people that are below the line. Like Bryan Cranston always talks about the dentist scene in Seinfeld, like where he got the idea to go, which is one of the funniest fucking things that ever happened on TV. And it's like he got that from a fucking lighting guy or something like that. Like, dude was just making a joke off the side of the set. He's like, "Oh, yeah, it'd be funnier if you did that." And he's like, "Fuck yeah, it would be." And he did it, and that's television history.
Yeah. Another one I keep thinking about is Clint Eastwood's Heartbreak Ridge, the Swede scene. So the actor that played Jones is like, do you know what? If I got the camera and actually went up, no, this guy Swede's big, huge, hulking dude that goes to try and knock out Clint Eastwood. Gunny Highway's character, and what they decided was, no, if I pan him up, that you see from the ground up just how big this guy was, and that came in, that's an iconic scene, outside of horror, just in movie making, and that was just the actor going, here, what about if we did this? Because you're not really getting the impact of him walking in if he just shoulders through everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but should this not be like one of the basics of film school, for example? Don't do this. It's never worked.
Well, the thing is,
I know it's tempting to do it, but
as some of the other adaptations,
mm-hmm.
that's where I sort of struggle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's not as horrible as it should be.
Yeah,
but it's definitely not as good as it could be.
Yeah, that's the hard thing. Is like is it the fact that it's not a direct adaptation? Is it the fact that none of these fucking people can act? I mean, Quaid plays a crazy guy, but it's a bit on the nose.
He's
like it's always big eyes, then squinty eyes, and then blah, and then
fucking hell, he's rich. Okay, he's rich. Apparently, his character. Why can't he afford a fucking duvet and a mattress cover? A fucking pillowcase.
Right, or
Jesus
at least
Christ, they're not fucking expensive.
A fucking $2 pillow from Walmart, for fuck's sake. Like, what kind? That's how you know he's insane. Is he's laying there on a fucking blank mattress without a pillow? Like, what kind of fucking mad person does that shit?
I just don't. These people, I don't know. They're not part of the real world.
No, no.
Do you know my actual favorite psychological thriller? 1 Hour Photo.
Oh, that was good.
And the scene that got me, actually, I was a bit jealous. Robin Williams is Cy's character sitting in his room, just in his living room, and it's fucking beautiful and pristine. I'm like, I want to be able to do that. I'm a messy bastard. I just wanted to be him at that moment. Fucking everything gleaming. And I'm just like, but that shows the other side, and we never see that side. I think that's one of the few times we've seen that side of that psychosis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's more chilling, I think,
mm-hmm.
than, oh, here's gritty apartment, I'm living like a student.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It shows like that they live among us when they don't live in squalor, when they know how to groom themselves and shower. Like, they're just any other fucking person. You don't know until you know. And that's the fucking scary part. With shit like this, yeah, you walk up to that. And I mean, if they would at least have set it up as he's driving up and you see all the other abandoned houses on the street, then it makes sense why it's just dank and trashy. But yeah, he just pulls up like, oh, here's my address, the same address in the book. And you're like, oh, this is gonna be cool. And then it's just that. It's like,
Well, put in contrast, same scenario, Barbarian.
yeah.
There's an Airbnb, there's a nice house,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in a shitty neighborhood. Everything else is squalor, but there's a nice house. Was that any of the less terrifying? In that respect?
Barbarian was infinitely better.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Livable, that was the whole point. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
then
fuck,
until you get into the
especially like
basement-
for people like me and Adam who have gone to Airbnbs where there's a random locked door that you're told specifically not to go into. Like that is always the fear of staying at random places. But yeah, with this, it's like, no, you drive up. You don't even have to step on the doorstep to know, oh yeah, I'm probably going to get raped or murdered or both.
Yeah, it's a crack house. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
fucking, that's it. Everything has to look like a crack house. It's so lazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's generic.
I do think it makes sense in this story. Like, you can't have someone screaming and hearing you, and so you have to be in the middle of some weird industrial place, and you're just literally squatting. It's not like he owns or rents the house. He's just squatting in an abandoned place. So you could either do that in a Detroit neighborhood, or you could just go to some rando industrial, thing that he is in right now, which explains why he's living on a shit mattress on the floor and living like he's a crack addict. He's just doing it so he can have space away from civilization.
Yeah.
But was that brought across in the short story?
Yeah.
I thought it was just...
Well, yeah, in the short story...
The location of the house, but not... I thought it was his house.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I think it's
bought
his
it
house in this as well, but it doesn't really... in the book, it makes sense. Like, it sets up why it's there, where it is, all that shit. With this, it's just like, this is my address. Come see me tonight.
This is where I wish I could speed read.
What's that?
This is where I wish I could speed read.
Oh, right.
You know, like Johnny Five, fucking
right.
Yeah, because even doesn't matter. Yeah, because the impression I got from the book is that he owned a house. It just happened to be in a squalor neighborhood, but there was not a thing of it being a dirty shithole crack house.
Yeah,
right.
And that was part of the terrifying thing, that it chose it because. Yeah, everything else. You know why some places hold out as well if there's a development going on, and they'll keep their house even though everything else is getting demolished around them, see if they get a better price. That's what I was kicking in my head. That just everything, he just kept the house there, even though the rest of the place is falling apart for his purposes.
Well, in the book, it was the idea of isolation. Like, he's like, I need isolation from everything else to conduct this experiment.
But it's just the way it came across in film. Like I said, it's just generic and lazy. And I've seen it 100 times.
Yeah, it's definitely of the era. That's for sure. Like, I think that's how they felt like they were going to get away without explaining it, is because any movie between 2004, 2005, and 2010, like, you just assumed they were going to be in some house like that.
Yeah, it's...
Like, I grew up with people who lived in houses like that. They just squatted in places, or they literally didn't take care of their home. Downtown Salt Lake in some industrial, close to an industrial area. You can argue that's kind of where I live now, where it's just sort of like just in the middle of nowhere, and it's just not the best. But the people there don't give a fuck because they're not there for the beauty of the house. They're there to conduct torture or to do drugs or to, sell their bodies or whatever it is. Like, the reason they're there is not to get escrow money. I mean,
I don't know, man. I would argue the different side. Like, I've hung out at squats like as a kid, and a lot of them were better than this.
Wow.
I mean, there's dog shit and that shit and stuff around.
Life.
No, it's downtown Salt Lake squats, but there's definitely filth, but it was a lot brighter and a little bit cleaner.
Maybe it's a cultural thing because when I grew up, I suppose the TLM and things are changing, but it was the whole working class mentality of, if somebody could have a nicer sofa than you, then they were better than you, sort of thing. That was a kind of weird mindset.
Wow.
Yeah, that was it. People scrubbed their doorsteps.
Jesus.
Little terraced houses, your classic British terraced row.
Yeah.
People compete with each other, to have the nicest flower basket because then they were better than you. It's weird. But don't get above your station. You know, don't think you're better than everybody else that you're going to leave.
Yeah.
But I go on holiday once more a year than you, so I'm wonderful. It's fucking weird.
Wow.
It's a completely different culture and mindset. I almost say alien, just American, but you had that trashy family, but everyone like treated them like pariahs. You know, you had that one house that was full of 10 kids and the freaking just absolute shithole, but everyone like, would cross the street and go around it, and nobody would talk to their kids and stuff.
We call those ghettos.
Yeah, but this would be one house, and everyone else would be like, it's all about the rat shit now because everything's fucking rented, and nobody cares, and fucking it's like a third world now. But back when I was growing up, that was the whole thing.
Wow.
The perception of the neighbors, people were in each other's pockets.
Wow.
Oh, people just walk in. That was just still my mum's straight neighborhood to just walk into each other's houses. That's just the way of it. So if you didn't have like enough biscuits or tea or something, to make someone a cup of tea, then you were sort of talked about.
Make tea, but they didn't offer me one biscuit.
Yeah, that was the thing. Seriously, that was the thing. We'll call it she just offered you the cup in your hand, sort of. That was the phrase. So yeah, let's just say America's a bit of a culture shock. That how shitty people can live and not be even remotely ashamed about it.
Yeah.
Kind of mess with my head a bit, if I'm honest, when I experienced it.
Well, you were in the creme de la creme area too.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was going to say, you were in the perfect area to experience just the fucking underside of the ball sack of America.
The thing is, it wasn't exactly where I lived. It wasn't too bad, but the minute it wasn't until I went to the appointment somewhere, I saw the back streets, and I'm like, holy shit! My skin started crawling. I'm like, fuck, is this where I'm living? I was like in a little bubble, wee house next to the park and all, wee dog park, and people like knew each other. And I'm like, oh, this isn't too bad.
Yeah, all you gotta do is cross the street, and then it's like, oh fuck. I'm gonna get shot or stabbed.
Yeah, that was a bit fucking messed up. Oh dear. So yeah, let's talk about Stephen's character, because Quaid, they turned him from, I think we got it, they turned him into a generic fucking villain, torture porn villain.
Yeah.
I was just so disappointed. There was no need for it.
Yeah.
Stephen's character I'm most annoyed about.
You mean the changes or just the character?
Yeah, the changes, because he had a good character arc in the story. Like in the short story.
Yeah, he was the grounding element.
Yeah, and the whole point was him breaking and then basically, coming back to bite you in the arse when you push too hard. And that whole character arc, that whole baseline of the story just fucking thrown out the window.
Yeah, well, especially the way he goes out. It's like he was pointless. Like his entire experience was pointless. It didn't lead to the end of the story.
It was weird because they split his character in two. The hearing guy on one part and this weird other student part, and then they tried to bring the axe murder side into it, but they didn't give him like the strength to actually follow through or the real justification to follow through. Yeah, and so like we have this really great like sort of terrifying Quaid, burying in his own little like fetal position moment, and then all of a sudden he becomes like a fucking gunslinger out of nowhere and like backs Stephen down, and like it doesn't fucking work like that. Like if you're traumatized so much that you're having nightly terrors, you're not going to be able to overcome it just because you have a fucking 6-shooter in your hand. Yeah. And then if Stephen is really that fucking upset that he's ready to like axe this dude in the face, you're not going to back down simply because a guy brings a fucking tiny little snub gun in your face. You're going to swing and take your shot.
All the hesitation, like I'm sorry, you're not going to creep up on a motherfucker when their back's turned to you.
And like tap him in the back to go, hi.
Yeah, no, it's like you get your opportunity, you fucking take it, especially because you're walking up behind him and you see him walking with a gun in his fucking hand. Like, yes, he can turn around and pull that trigger and that bullet's going to go faster than you. But if you get up on him just fast enough, you can fucking disarm him and then hack his ass to pieces. Like, it was, if he was motivated, Quaid would have been dead.
Yeah. Should have definitely died.
And this isn't a budgetary thing.
No. This is a
Because,
choice.
like I'm saying, that whole thing, the prosthetics on Cheryl's character to make her character was expensive. The whole fucking scene shooting and everything else would have cost money. Where sticking Steven in a hole and actually bringing that to bear. And fuck, we've seen him with Gerald's Game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can have an actor in isolation and not a fucking A-lister. Do you know what I mean? I can't remember that actress's name, but she wasn't like a Hollywood A-lister. But she did a
DiBlasi
fucking
is not a fucking... DiBlasi is not a director like... oh, fuck. No, I can't remember his name.
I'm getting there.
Flanagan.
Yeah, Mike Flanagan.
He's definitely not a Flanagan. I mean, Flanagan is like next level horror director. De Blasio's like, I'm going to try to adapt a bunch of Clive Barker's work kind of guy. You know, trying to ride the coattails of a much better creator.
God, nipping at his heels. I need to see what else he's done.
That's what I'm looking.
I'm
He
not
did Books
watching.
of Blood. He did Books of Blood. He did.
Oh fuck, we're going to do that.
Produced. What?
Oh fuck, thanks for depressing me.
Yeah. Actually, Books of Blood was not bad. The Hulu one, it wasn't bad. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. It was better than this. It was better than all the adaptations thus far that we've reviewed.
He's done a few things that were. He's got a whole lot of okay to his list.
Yeah.
All right.
Nothing that I'm like
job director sort of thing. Just no. Just why when you have a template, lay it out, and I don't know. Directors aren't the story writers, are they? They're the ones that bring the visuals. Maybe it's my confusion about what the director's role is, maybe compared to what they think the role is. You have a separate storyteller. Like, it's most times when the director is a story writer as well, a script writer, it doesn't usually work. That's why you have someone else.
I don't know.
There's great examples, obviously, but I'm just generally you have a competent storyteller, and the director is the one that brings that to the visual. You know, brings it to the visual spectrum. But like Adam said, these fuckers just. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm special. I'm the bestest ever. And 9 times out of 10, fucking committee arse it up. It just annoys me. It's because there's no need. Yeah. I liked Stephen's character arc was the thing that kept me through the short story. Seeing him, you know, he was impressionable. So somebody like Quaid initially approaching him, he's like, oh yeah, but he's also a wee bit intimidated by him because they brought the money aspect, which you didn't see in the film.
I mean, other than him just randomly buying a car, but
$1,200. Fuck,
I mean,
this is shit.
That's I mean, yeah, that's a lot of fucking money, but
I think he just wanted to say $1,200
money.
Yeah, I think I was just putting the script to say he spent X amount of money. I thought it's fucking stupid. The guy looks like a hobo.
Yeah.
Where in the book you got the idea that he's like reasonably well, like I said, reasonably well dressed.
Yeah, he's well dressed. He's charismatic. Like, he is somebody that you're intimidated by as much as you want to hang out with him. Like, both equal parts scared of him and intrigued by him. In this, you're just kind of like, he looks like he's going to smell really bad and probably be a little sticky.
Yeah. So therefore, Stephen's character of who's actually a better character than him would be like, ugh. Instead of being enamored by him. So actually, the whole bumming the cigarette thing at the beginning completely changed the dynamics of their characters.
The what?
Right. So when Quaid and Stephen first meet, Quaid bums a cigarette off him.
Oh.
Where in the book, they're at the student union bar, and Quaid offers to buy him a drink. And Quaid, of course, is banned, just not even thinking, buys like expensive
Yeah, he's sitting
bourbon or
there
something.
pounding brandy.
Yeah,
it's nothing.
brandy. I was like,
And-
yeah. So he's sitting.
Yeah, and Steven's sitting there like, man, how long can I make this pint last?
Yeah, and that gave you the whole power dynamic, but
Mhm.
in the movie they completely flipped it. So they made Steven the more powerful character
Mhm.
initially.
I didn't get that in the movie.
He's the one involved in the love triangle as well. That fucking stupid love triangle. Fucking. Of course, he's a Twilight actor. That's all I can fucking do. You're a Twilight actor. Gotta get you in a love triangle because that's love triangle.
I have no fucking clue what you're talking about, but that sounds funny.
That's
Oh wait, Twilight the
any
the film
young
series. Okay,
adult
yeah, I never watched
fucking
any of that shit.
story ever is all love triangle. What do you call that? Fucking the bones something. Fucking any of those shitty things.
Yeah.
I've picked up a few of the books at the time, and it's all a love triangle. Fucking crap. But yeah, they had him being, the two attractive women, and that's going after him, and that whole stupid scene with that scene with Cheryl. Oh, my heart is somewhere else. He fucking knew she was coming on to him. Like, he could have stopped that, but he was fucking generic. Once again, made him generic as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you should have just banged her. Like, come on. Your heart is somewhere else. You're not fucking married. You're not even dating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, it was just stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
But they ruined his character.
For sure.
Because they set him up to be a more powerful character, and then he completely devolved.
Mm-hmm.
Where at least in the short story, like, it's amazing how 20 pages of a book can do fucking so much more
Yeah.
than an hour and a half of a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we see him actually break down. He wasn't super confident, impressionable. He just going through the motions of college. He wasn't really invested.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see him actually...
The setup, too, just made more sense. Like, why they were doing this in the book as opposed to this. Like, oh, you're a film student. Cool. Let's do a psychology thing. Whereas in the book, they're taking a psychology class together. And it's like, hey, let's fucking do this. Like, the setup just made more sense in the book.
They sort of briefly glossed over that in the film. Like, that scene outside, but you never got any... Or, do you know what they could have done? They could have actually just had a few classroom scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a lecturer given a theory or a thesis on dread or fear, and then that could have sparked it off much better.
Yeah.
If they wanted to do it visually. But all this other shit they brought in just completely ruined it. And then I was interested to see what sort of institution Stephen ended up in. Because it was sort of part hospital, part homeless shelter, part jail or something.
Yeah,
we
that
got a
was
trouble wrapping my
weird
head around what
spot.
that place actually was that he ended up in.
I was trying to, because there's nothing like it that I'm aware of here. It seemed like it was like a homeless shelter, and then it also seemed like it was like an institutional homeless shelter.
Mm-hmm.
It did, like, there's nothing really like that. Either you just go to a homeless shelter and then you can feel free to leave at whatever you want, which would make sense if the cop found him and then took him there. But the cop acted like he was taking him to an institution.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought maybe there's just something like that in the UK, and that's where Barker sort of made it up from. Or,
well, I mean, probably most countries tend to take care of their sick a little bit better than we do.
So what we do in the UK is we take care of the rest of the world's sick and not our own. So if you're indigenous here, you're a dickhead basically, and fuck you. But if you come over in a dinghy, you're fucking sorted. Like, fucking interest. Oh, here, interest-free loan now. You can get an interest-free loan.
That's it.
In a fucking hotel. Like, honestly, get yourself to France, jump on a wee boat, come across, you're fucking set for life.
Then I gotta go to France.
Burn your passport.
You have to do that.
if you find yourself fucking... Sure, that was the thing from your country, fucking health
I'm
tourists.
not sure, Chris.
That used to be a massive thing, especially pregnant ladies. In fact, that was the reason why if you're so far along now in your pregnancy, you're not allowed to fly into the UK.
What?
Because women would come over here, honestly, fly over, have their baby, and fly back. And it was cheaper to do that.
I've never once heard of this.
Yeah, because the NHS, fucking, if you get treated at point of entry, and then the government's supposed to try and claim back from the other country, but they never do because they're incompetent arseholes. Yeah, I worked in the health service, like, this is like 90s. Fucking, that was the thing. Fucking health tourists just fly over, especially pregnant women, because it was cheaper to you could fly to the UK, stay in like a 5-star hotel, go and have your baby, and it was still cheaper than American healthcare.
I mean, that sounds about right. That's why a lot of people go to Mexico.
To have a kid, but that seems like it's more expensive to do that.
No, because you don't pay. You literally don't pay. If you say you're over here and went in labor, an ambulance called, you're treated.
Yeah, but you have to pay for the plane ticket there and back. You have to pay for the plane ticket. I mean, like,
yeah, but a plane ticket, that's like a couple $100 to maybe $1,000. I mean, just a day stay in the hospital, I mean, that's like 10 to 15,000. And that's assuming that you're just having natural birth, you're not getting a C-section. So I can see it. I can definitely see it.
It's true. It happened. I worked in the sort of admin.
I have the receipts.
I'm too much of a gobshite to make stuff up because I'd hate to have to remember. Like, telling lies is terrible because you have to have a good memory.
Right.
I'm fucking scatterbrain. I'm a shit liar because fucking catch me at any time. No, he wasn't. He didn't have a particular. He grew up in a working class neighborhood, Merseyside, which is rough. But he didn't have a particular. Like, he got into the theatre scene early on, like from 16, 17. So, like, end of his teenage years, he moved to London. He got in with the Lovey crowd. So he wasn't really, like, as far as I'm aware, like, wasn't terrible upbringing. Yeah. During the 70s, it wasn't fun in the UK. Working class, like, proper, especially up north. Like, you leave London and you go up north, there was proper deprivation. But like I said, the working class culture is that people, you lived in a fucking 1-bedroom shithole, but you fucking scrubbed it and you fucking kept it because you had a wee bit of sense of pride about you, and there was a sense of community. So everyone was in the same boat. So that was the only thing over here is this rigid class system. So the difference is, say somebody drives past a Lamborghini, you guys go, oh, wonder what that guy did to earn that. That's fantastic. Over here, we're just like, dickhead.
No, that's how I am here too.
Yeah,
like, wow, look at that fucking doucher.
If this whole thing of you go about too much above your station, you're a traitor to your class.
Yeah, the whole premise of the American dream is rising in station. So definitely.
Yeah, where in the UK, it's really not. And it's actually, this whole current climate has just amplified that because it's the middle classes going, horrible, smelly working class people, and that's the whole veneer behind it. It's just fucking what do you call it? Just fucking the way it is, Until you experience it, though, it's hard to describe. I mean, you need to be here and hear the conversations the way people are. Just like I said, just completely different culture. But that's what he grew up in. Wasn't anything spectacular. He's just a creative person with an imagination. Which, if he hadn't, I think he would have had problems if he hadn't moved to London and got into the theatre crowd.
Yeah,
because then he would have been shunned because
trying to be a theatre kid.
Yeah, I've never really liked the idea that in order to be good at something, you have to have something horrendous happen to you in order to propel you to that. Whether it's creative storytelling, whether it's artistry, whether it's singer-songwriter, a comedian or something, like, you could just be a creative human. And that's enough.
Do you know what it is? It's the fucking 80s trope, isn't it? The tortured artist.
Yeah.
It's that stupid trope of...
I mean, you can extrapolate that back to like the 50s beatniks. Like, I'm an independent person, like suffering for my art. Yeah. I'm going to travel to France in order to write good poetry. Like, give me a break.
Fucking... It's an act.
Yeah.
It's a fucking, it's a character they play. And that's where I like to think in this, we like to break that down. And I like to think that people who talk to you in this show and that will have to break that fucking stereotype down, that you can just be an ordinary person. And whatever immutable characteristic you have, doesn't mean shit. It's what you are inside and your ability. And also, by breaking down that stereotype, guess what? You can have a fucking go.
Right.
Nothing's stopping you. At least try. And don't think just because you're not fucking in this mold that you're barred from creativity, because that's how creativity dies. Once it becomes a fucking gatekeep bubble of it's more about the fucking fashion than what you can do. That's how we lose writers and creators and filmmakers. That's how we lose art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll step off my soapbox now.
No, that's a good soapbox to be on.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Let's talk about Mr. X-Man. Mr. X-Man, come chop up with me.
Yeah, that was a pointless fucking character too.
How generic was that?
Yeah.
Ooga booga, boogeyman, scary worry wee.
Like out of nowhere. And it's strange because you're throwing in arguably what could be the most compelling situation as like a throwaway prequel to a different story altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is what scarred this kid. And it's almost, it's what was that horror film with the woman, Intensity, where there's this like insane, it was Intensity, I think. It was like this
High
insane
Tension.
What High Tension?
High Tension.
yes.
Yeah, that French one. That's
High Tension.
fucking
amazing. It's an amazing film. But the whole premise is that sort of slasher trope with this sort of underlying of just high tension and anxiety and thriller. This has that kind of like thrown in, and it reminded me of like a single episode from like Tales of the Dark Side or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just like we're gonna have a creepy Axeman and it's gonna affect a kid watching him, and then the film starts instead of focusing on that one moment.
Yeah.
So it's a strange, incredibly intense moment to try to explain a character's actions later on when he never really fully... What would have made sense, in my opinion, is if he repeated those actions.
Mm-hmm.
Like the film portrayed him fantastically repeating it through his artwork, through his paintings.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, makes logical sense from a tortured soul's experience. You can't get over this, so you're going to repeat it through artwork. And that's arguably the healthiest way you can possibly do it anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so he shouldn't be as insane as this film is making him out to be.
Yeah, because once you have your catharsis, your outlet, your means of exercising this demon, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
But that was the reveal in the book. That was the point where we understood Quaid. And they just fucking beat you over the head with it throughout this entire film.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they beat you over the head with it, you're bored.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It would have made more sense at the end. Like we just get little flashes of some strange guy in the his periphery with an axe occasionally, but as soon as he looks over, he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like we get that sense of dread, and then at the end, post everybody dying, we get this scene of what we got in the beginning of the movie. Like that would have been far more jarring than seeing it all at the beginning, and then the rest of the movie is him going, "Oh no, I'm reliving this."
Yeah. And once again, back to what Adam was saying, are we meant to feel sympathy towards Quaid? Is this the fucking way they're doing it? We'll have to justify why he's doing this?
Yeah.
I feel like they started down that road, but they never paid it off.
Yeah.
No, because they fucking just went into wibbly wobbly land.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you feel bad for the child him, but not him, because the adult him is a fucking cunt.
Yeah.
So I was like, why?
Yeah. It was weird because, like, even though we're tearing this up, I enjoyed the watch. Like, I complained while I was watching it. I was like, oh, okay, this is better than...
Back to my original question. If this was just a horror movie, and it wasn't a Clive Barker movie, and there wasn't attached to a short story, would this have been a completely different experience?
I think I would have enjoyed it a little bit more than I did, but not a whole lot.
Yeah. I mean,
there's still
anything suffers by comparison,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can really only think of one adaptation, period, that I prefer more than the book itself. And that was, Stephen King 1408. Like, I love the movie far more than I love the story.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed that one.
I'm not convinced I ever
Two
finished
seconds.
watching it. Actually,
Yeah, I feel like I've covered that one. You need to get that one.
I think you have.
Have you?
I'm pretty sure, because I think it was one of those ones where it's like, that bastard. It's like Killer Clowns from Outer Space doing it without me.
Fine. Be like that.
I mean, it's probably for the better, because it just would have been me for an hour and a half going, oh god, this movie's so good.
No, but Chris's spacesuit theory is fucking epic.
what is that?
That the killer clowns are actually exosuits for the popcorn clowns. So the popcorn clowns are actually tentacle beings, and then they actually go into the killer clown suit.
Okay.
So that explains the popcorn.
All right.
Check it out in the channel, folks. Links, stuff more. Right, Abby. Completely invented filler character.
Mm-hmm.
Completely separate story arc from like the movie.
Yeah.
Why?
I agree.
Yeah.
Wasn't necessarily like, the thing is, on paper, her story is fun. It's interesting. And especially like the end of the film, the way she tries to take herself out. But it didn't push anything along. Like, all it was another like, oh, Steven, you got to hate this guy. And it's like, he's already got plenty of reason to hate this guy.
Yeah, as if you didn't have enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's manufacture one more to let the audience know that he's bad.
Mm-hmm.
But also, he's went through all the trouble to get in the isolated house. He doesn't want people to understand what he's up to. So he then makes a video and fucking shoves it all around the school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And basically going, whoop,
Yeah,
it's me. It's me.
Like, how the fuck is he doing this on analog TVs? Like, I mean, does he have like access to the fucking the closed circuit television system in the school? And if so, how does he have access to that? Plus, how is he pumping it into people's rooms? Like, you don't access closed circuit television on just a generic TV. Like,
No.
it's closed circuit for a reason. So
I'm not sure you're supposed to think about it.
I mean, I know that's,
Well,
the
that's
problem.
the problem.
You're not supposed
We
to
do.
think about it.
But
it's
That's
like,
our problem.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
we do think, but
sorry,
turn your brain off.
I try so hard. I mean,
I wish.
Keep your brain in the class system it belongs.
Right, dude. If I could switch this fucking thing off, honestly, my life would be so much easier. I'd be just happy going around going, life's great, fucking
Yeah.
fantastic, and I would be just chilling instead of being the fucking screwed up individual that I am. That overthinks everything.
If I could-
Fuck, right, here's how bad it was. Went to a gig last night. I was fucking overthinking the travel and fucking getting there and actually getting myself anxious because I had to leave in the afternoon. And because I had all day to think about it, I'm fucking winding myself up.
Damn.
Do I leave it this time? Do I leave it that time? I'm like, had it just been first thing in the morning, I'm out.
Mhm.
But because I have time to think about something, I fucking
Damn.
haven't got time to do this sort of stream, or am I going to ruin everything by staying 5 minutes? It's fucking up here's not a good place.
That's why we fill it with movies and books.
Yeah, and people don't put fucking bags in their bins. Like, fuck off, or fucking have a easy to cover mattress. That just messes with me.
All right.
Bastards. But yeah, could they have made her any more generic?
I think arguably she might be the best part of this film.
Yeah, but that's not exactly a high bar. Like, let's be
No.
honest.
But she's the adorable sort of foil for the guy, for Steven. Like she's the temptation, but she's the girl next door, but she's got a secret flaw that's not a big secret, and
Right.
she's
Yeah,
the
I
type
was
of girl that
I was
every guy
expecting
I've
like
ever met
a
tries to go for.
vestigial tale or something.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to see my secret, and it's like, oh, the birthmark goes the rest of your body. Gasp.
Okay.
Shock.
Imperfect. Yeah, not even blotchy, which birthmarks usually do.
Yeah.
People have birthmarks. It doesn't just go in a nice fucking straight line. It's all over the show.
Like,
Yeah.
liked the idea of her, and she was probably one of the best actors in this, but yeah, it was ultimately like she was kind of pointless.
Yeah, added
I mean,
nothing.
just to make the audience hate Quaid, and we already did.
Yeah.
If it
Yeah,
just
I mean,
had him,
just a look on his face when you first see him, like, hey,
Yeah.
can I get a cigarette from you? You're like, wow, this guy looks like he's gonna slip some GHB into my drink.
Yeah.
yeah,
So you automatically hate him.
Yeah. He's a punk.
is this just I talked about the fucking love triangle. That was just fucking God. Why?
So dumb. It was so dumb. And then seeing Quaid turn from being a super sleazy scumbag to being a super sleazy scumbag that's attractive to Abby. Like, what? How could she ever like be seduced by him? He's so gross.
Yeah, like, I mean, it sets it up in the beginning because she's talking to Steven. Oh, yeah, he asked me to model for him. Well, you didn't do it, did you? Well, no, but I almost did. It's like, come on. Like, I understand. Like, when you have body dysmorphia, your sense of self is very low. But that guy's fucking sleazy as shit. Like, nobody's gonna be like, oh, well, thanks for calling me attractive. Want to see my panties? No, that's fucking weird.
Back to what I'm saying. If they had just had him a normal house, just looking, fucking looking normal, not even rich, as in fucking, opulent, but just fucking looking normal, and then having a room where he did paint, just not fucking sleazy. That would have been more impactful.
Yeah.
Instead of having him like a fucking crackhead. Because that's exactly what he was throughout this movie, just fucking junkie or fucking meth head or something, just get around strip clubs and stuff. You're like, dude, you're in a university and there's art students, there's fucking life art students. Fucking, what was the whole point of going to fucking strip clubs as well? It was just dumb.
I said you gotta pay for it. Well, fuck that.
Yeah. But it could have been done, like I said, through the veneer of higher education and study, which is supposed to be the whole fucking point of this movie. It's an intellectual study which devolves because Quaid has his hidden agenda. You're fucking beaten over the head with his agenda. This would have been better, I think, if it took place in a trailer park instead of a university. And a bunch of crackheads just fucking blowing up, a fucking pipe.
Would have been.
I know. Let's talk about fear, man.
Right.
See, I would go the opposite. I think Hellraiser 2 with the doctor's house, where he had like the one room where he had all the dead, emaciated bodies and stuff. Like, that's perfect.
Yes, Gennard is a fucking class. Everything's what you would expect of a doctor. All tasteful, high value. He'd have dinner parties there, and people will come around. But then that one secret room that's a fucking charnel house.
Yeah.
That's horror. This isn't.
Yeah. And they did set Quinn up as being like this older guy. Steven had no idea how old he was. He assumed he was around his own age, but then I think it was Laura or someone that said that he was 30.
Yeah.
So like he's much older than these other college students. So, and he has this hidden wealth from somewhere. And so why not play that up a little bit? I mean, I feel like the book suggested that, which is why I bought the idea that he would get a house out of nowhere. But the film, it did, he lived as if he was homeless, except for his skill in painting and his weird ability of like seducing women down to his painting den.
Yeah. Like, how fucking hard up do you got to be to actually be like, oh, yeah, no, this guy's totally not going to murder me. When you pull up to that house and then you go in that house and then you go to the basement, it's like, no, man.
Yeah, the red flags would be fucking flopping all over the show.
You wouldn't be able to get past them.
Let's keep in mind, not every stripper is working to pay off her law degree. Some of them are just drug addicts.
Yeah. But once again, it's this fear of mainstream filmmakers of touching the dark side. They have to fucking pretty it up. Quaid had to be traumatized. The strippers have to be hard done by. Just the whole point. People like horror and like to visit the seedy underworld because somewhere they don't normally go. it's somewhere that they'll never encounter. So that's a bit of vicarious living, you know, seeing that side of things.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point of underground, underbelly, those sort of words and terms and phrases. You know, that's why culturally it's always popular. This is an underground rave. It's an underground rap scene. You know, it's that whole the forbidden.
Yeah.
You know, the stepping out of your comfort zone. But movie makers, and this is, people say it's around about 2010. It's when things started changing. We can start to see it now. This culture of fucking, oh, we're afraid to cross any boundaries and everything has to be fucking milk toast, fucking Magnolia, generic, paint by numbers. And it's just, this is where we're starting to see why we're in the shit we are today in terms of creativity.
Yeah, I think on the surface I'd buy that. It's a film of the time, you know, like Cameron was saying at the very beginning, there's a lot of films that look and feel like this. And so I really do think that he was in a moment of filmmaking. And so he was just buying into that moment rather than trying to, you know, do something stepping outside of it, because there was an established audience for this type of filmmaking. And arguably,
I mean, yeah,
this to some degree, because we're still talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, this series specifically, like the 8 Films to Die For, the Massive Horrors, like those in the early 2000s, like it didn't matter what the fuck it was. People like me were like, "Oh, there's a new one," you bought it immediately. Like it's again, I don't know how I missed this one. It still blows my mind I missed this one, but yeah, like there was an established audience for this shit that it didn't matter what it was, you ate it up. Period.
Yeah, but even the whole anthology was like under the radar. It wasn't really very like everyone knows, for example, anthology, the ABCs of Death. That's, you know, that's there. There's loads of anthologies out there. Trick or Treat, you know, people know instantly. But this was just like swept under the carpet. Almost, you know, just didn't really get the airplay, but c'est la vie. Cheryl's character.
Nope. They fucked her up so bad. Yeah. Like you care about her in the story.
Yeah.
And
but at least she's the only one that
there.
Sort of follows her story arc in the short story.
I don't really feel it. I mean, other than being vegetarian and like her in the isolation, like I don't feel like it really fit with her very well from the book.
I mean, that's all that happened in the book to her.
Yeah, that's it. She wasn't really she wasn't a massive character.
She was such a different person, though. Like the whole allure of her in Quaid's eyes is the fact that she is just pure happiness. Nothing can faze her, and she's like, I don't care. Yeah, I'll volunteer to do this because I'm stronger than you, and fuck you. There was none of that there. There was like she jumped at shadows in this, and I mean it made, I guess, for an interesting movie, but yeah, I feel like she wasn't adapted as well as she should have been.
Well, they
Is
added
it this
that whole...
need, and maybe from an American perspective, this whole culture of I have to be a broken thing. I have the most extravagant mental health issues, you know, insert, and everyone's trying to one up each other with it. Well, you've got that, but I've got this, and blah 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 blah. Is it that culture?
Facebook became a thing. That's been like the trajectory of the global culture.
Right.
If you're the worst off, then you are heralded as the greatest. So you manufacture problems if you don't have them, and this culture of degradation and sorrow that everyone has to be. But I'm working on my mental health. You know, like, all right, well, fucking congratulations on being a human that lives. I guess.
You know, the ones that get me are fucking addicts. Worship me. I haven't got smacked out this weekend. Yeah, well, I don't do it any weekend. Like, I get a pat on the head. Yay!
Those parents are like, I haven't beaten my kid for a week. You're not supposed to. What are you saying?
Yeah.
Or like, kids that are like, my mom makes me dinner every night. Yeah, they're supposed to.
That's
Like,
kind of the job.
We're not going to celebrate things that you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be a good person to your kids. You're supposed to take care of them. You're supposed to not do drugs all day and lay around with needles sticking out of your arms. And you're supposed to go to therapy if you're fucked up in your head. That doesn't make you special. That doesn't make you interesting. That makes you basic.
If you have a broken leg, you get a plaster cast and you fucking, let a heal. It's exactly the same. But I think this is what they've done. Like, they've done it with Quaid's character, done with Cheryl's. They have to be, I've got issues. I've got more issues than you. And that's I find it nauseating because it's so, once again, it's the torture artist thing. It's so fake and pretentious and just unattractive.
Yeah.
I think that's why I liked Cheryl in the film, though, because it took a long time for her to finally say, all right, I'll tell my story. And it's about being abused. Like, it wasn't like initial volunteering it. She wasn't trying to make a statement. They just needed another good interview. And she's like, well, fuck it. We can't find one. I got some dark place. Let me share my darkness. I didn't like how they tied it to her vegetarianism.
Yeah, that was you could just be vegetarian because you're fucking vegetarian.
Yeah. So weird. And they only did that in the film. That wasn't in the book that I read.
No. It was not. That's what I mean. You got none of that in the book. But the reason I say that her character arc actually falls closest to the story because everyone else has deviated so much.
Yeah.
In fact, so much they brought in extra fucking cast members to cover it. That she's the only one that actually sort of follows an almost linear. And once again, the bar is not high.
Yeah, for sure.
But I can't empathize with any of these characters in the movie.
Not in the movie, I can't. Maybe Abby.
I'm gonna say Abby a little, just whole.
But she's just so over the top. I think that's the problem.
Cheryl, like I can sympathize with her because that was fucking brutal. Like, just being trapped in there and finally, having that conundrum of, do I eat the meat? When do I eat the meat? It's just getting worse, so I have to eat it sooner, but I can't bring myself to do it. And
but there was once again with Quaid when he's explaining it in the book, because that's what see the twisted side of him. But because he's set up to be such a fucking Burke in the movie, it loses any of its impact. Where if they had him as a normal, like I said, charismatic, fucking well-to-do dude, and then this is the moment where he's explaining and the mask slips. And I'm not talking about anything that is expensive to do or fucking great acting chops. It was just follow the fucking template that was laid out.
Right. There's a novel idea.
And you would have had an impactful story, because guess what? Barker wrote an impactful story, albeit short, but then fuck you, that's the whole point of an anthology, is all ideas, and maybe there wasn't enough to put into a full movie. If you tried to expand on it too much, you'd trip yourself up, which we've seen in the movie. But that moment of the mask slipping and him explaining it just in a calm demeanor, but because he's had so many freakouts and he's fucking busy a meth head, you've no impact. You just don't care. You're just, oh, right, okay, yeah, he's a psycho. We'll know that. So I lost the reveal of how far he's prepared to go.
Right. I think that is the problem of having read the story. Like, if it was just the film, absent the story, I don't think we would have as many problems. We would still
it'd be
have
a different experience.
Problems, but it suffers by comparison. Like, it really does. Because that scene of him being like, no, she just walked away. And then we learn that that's a straight up lie. As far as it's presented, like, okay, well, maybe he is just doing this because he's a twisted, sadistic fucking guy and he's just trying to find out the truth. But maybe not. And it's not until the very end where he kills Steven that you realize, and watches him die, that you realize that no, he is really just a messed up fucking serial killer, and Cheryl never got away at all. It's that tease of it. Like, you don't quite know if he's like 100% murderer or just 98.
Yeah.
And I was not like, I know you sort of hinted that it was different from the book. When I saw the deviation at the end, I was not surprised.
No.
I genuinely wasn't. And I didn't feel any... I just felt flat. Like, oh yeah, okay, because that's the character that was presented to us. There's no shock at all.
It was like, oh fuck, how do we end this shit? I know, everybody dies. And then it's over.
Yeah, I actually got angry, emotionally upset at the ending of this film. I wanted it to be better. I wanted it to... If you're gonna... I will follow a bad guy. I like bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you give me a bad guy and give me a reason to be on his side, I'm there. But you present Quaid, he's not set up as a bad guy to follow. He's set up as a bad guy to be defeated, and then you have him winning in the end, and it's not even a satisfying win. You can't then switch your mind over to being like, oh yeah, well that's great. Good for the bad guy. It's just like, douche. I want to walk into the screen and beat him senseless.
Yeah.
It's unsatisfying. It makes me mad.
But that's the basics of storytelling, though. You decide on the character, you decide what they're going to be, and then that's the template you follow. How you make it unique is the way you tell it. That's why I'm so fucking slow at writing now, because I have so much in my head about what a bad story is that I'm terrified. Honestly, I go over shit 100 times. That's why I'm so fucking slow now, because I'm just beating myself up, going, I've seen that shit. I've read this and shit. I don't want to be that sort of dickhead, and I kind of put myself off. Where once again, if I could turn this thing off 90%, I'd be fucking just cracking on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it evolved into a slasher. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It went from a potentially a gripping psychological horror that would rattle about in your head to just fucking dumb slasher stuff, which like I said, I didn't even get angry at the end. I just I knew I was going to do that stupid shit. Not surprised. Okay, it's over now. Right, let's talk about this so I can fucking forget about it. That's the way I kind of am, because I don't think I'll revisit this.
See, I will. The thing about this movie is this is a great turn your brain off and just sit down with a bowl of fucking popcorn and enjoy the ride type of thing. You talk shit along the way, and it's good fun. But when you have to come at it from a critical standpoint, then that's when you get three fucking angry dudes first thing in the morning and going like, "This movie's bullshit. I'll watch it again, but it's bullshit."
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I was expecting the usual with Barker to be like, "Oh, what have they done?" and be angry and stuff, but it just turned out he's like, okay, yeah. Here's something I thought up in about 5 minutes. Have it.
See, I almost wonder if it's just because of the time that it came out, because this is, 2008 is when it premiered at Fantasia. Proper release was 2009 with the series. It's like all the shit he's gone through up till that point. It doesn't surprise me. It's just like, it's a fucking movie. I guess it's okay. Because that's going through fucking Nightbreed, Hellraiser, fucking Rawhead Rex, everything else. At this point, is just like a beaten man. I'm like, I got a check, so it's okay.
Yeah, fuck it. He is. The more we do this, we're nearly at the end of it. I think we've got about 3 pieces left to do to finish this little series that was started. But he's definitely an artist I feel sorry for.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely, I feel bad for him. And he might be living a good life and stuff, and he obviously made a decent living for himself, but he just feels like somebody has just been absolutely shafted the minute he got into... I think when he...
And not in a good way.
No. Not in the way I'd normally like.
Oh, I'm sure he got shafted that way too.
Oh yeah, well, his current health conditions kind of prove that he liked it a bit too much. But it seems to me when he went into the movie business, that's where his troubles started. Just that world.
Yeah.
would he be better off if he hadn't have?
I don't know, because like the thing is, when you have big releases, even if they're not critically well received, you're going to get an audience that hasn't like even heard of you until then, and then goes to visit your previous works. So I don't know. I like to think that his writing is so fucking good that people would have found him normally, but at the same time, I don't think they would have, like as wide of an audience, I guess I should say. Because I mean, you watch Hellraiser and you find out it's based on a book, and you're like, "Fuck, I need to read these books." And then, like, because that's how I went into Clive Barker. So I don't know. It's like on one hand, yeah, he got fucked pretty bad, but on the other hand, it's like probably got more of an audience because of, you know, arguably not the greatest films.
Yeah. You behave yourself, young man. We have words for you next week.
Yeah, I think exposure is the best reason to have people keep poorly making these stories. Just because you're like, that was interesting, and then you go read it, you're like, wow, this is so much better. Like the actual literature is so much better than every adaptation. Like, it makes you want to sort of go into a deep dive of his works. And once you do, you realize that he's such a prolific writer. He does so much more than just like body horror. You know, he does some genuinely amazing fantasy work and children's stories, and
like Aberoth, the Aberoth series. You know, that's
Aberoth's
an entire world that'll rival any other.
It's great.
And he's not pretentious.
Yeah.
I think I've noticed, especially indie horror writers, I've noticed that there's quite a few, and they get wrapped up in the language. They're trying to write in highfalutin language that they actually lose the story they're trying to tell.
Yeah.
Where
like when you're writing for dumb people, don't use big fancy words. Takes you out of the story, because then you got to pull out your phone and Google what this fucking word means. And then by the time you get back to it, you're just like, fuck you, you're smarter than me, book.
Yeah, he never tried. He kept simple concepts. That was the thing. His stories are based around simple concepts, but then they touch the fantastical. And that's so gripping. And yeah, maybe the movies are just a vehicle for him. Fair enough. And do you know what? If he's maybe at this point married himself, that, you know, just bought in that idea and just use it as a tool, why not? A few extra quid here, finance what he wants to do, fair enough. But yeah, I think what annoys me about this is just such a simple concept. There's no reason to screw with it so much, especially when it wasn't a theatrical release, big budget movie. It's part of an anthology, so they could have just told the story.
Yeah.
Okay. Any final thoughts?
I don't think we've about covered what I got.
I think you should watch it because it has some great little moments in it that are fun. And if it forces you to then buy Books of Blood collection, read the story, then you're going to realize what a great fucking story it actually is and how creepy and terrifying it is. So I think for that reason, people should definitely check it out, or you could just skip the movie and read the book.
Yeah.
But people
I mean,
so.
If you're watching this series and you haven't bought the collections yet, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You can get them on Amazon. Like, you get the 2 different packs, because there's, you know, the collection 1, which is 1 through 3, collection 2, which is 4 through 6.
Not that expensive either.
No, I think I spent $20 for both of them with shipping and all that. And like, you will not be disappointed. Like, fuck.
And plus, it's an anthology, so you've got, you know, all the bases. Like, every movie that's been made is all essentially from these 6 volumes of books.
Well, and the great thing too is because it's a collection of shorts. Like, if you don't like one of the stories, skip ahead 5 pages and you're on something completely fucking different.
Yeah, absolutely. This, because at the end of the day, we're Clive Barker fans. This is a celebration of his work, I think. And if we didn't care, we wouldn't get emotionally invested. I mean, we wouldn't get angry, we wouldn't get upset. I just feel like he's being disrespected.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing that the movie industry hasn't done, is give him his dues in terms of respect. And I think that's what bugs me. Where people like King get lauded over and basically roll out the red carpet. And I would argue that Barker is a much better writer.
Wow.
I mean, let's not go that far.
Ding ding, red one.
Like I might argue that, but I fucking love Barker. I mean, I would definitely put him top 3, definitely, but I don't know, man.
I think when King goes off on his little fucking journeys off in the side, it takes you away from like the main storyline, and then yes, better go back to the story. That's where I find him frustrating.
See, I don't know. I think with the amount of books that I read, like how I can just go through shit fast, that doesn't bother me, because then it leads me to the next one. Like just like going down the rabbit hole of the Dark Tower series. Like, yeah, it's only 7 books, but you can easily make that a 32 book series because of the tirades and the tie-ins with other books. Like, it's, I don't know. I love that shit. Anything that forces me to read something else, I'm all for.
Yeah, but I just think he's being treated with more respect.
Well, I mean, yeah, definitely.
And I don't know, just
that is weird.
There's no logical reason for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, the studio wants to make a good movie. They want to make money, and it's almost like they deliberately work against that ideal.
Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, a lot of it, I think, is the time that they both like broke out, essentially, because you got to figure with King, it was Carrie. That's the 70s. That is essentially the height of not independent cinema, because I feel like true independent cinema wasn't until like the 80s, really kind of dying off in the 90s. But like big studios just all fucked up on cocaine are like, I don't give a fuck, here's billions of monies, just do something and make me some more coke money.
Well, Carrie wasn't a brilliant book. It was actually a difficult read because it was done through the prism of interviews, and I don't like that style.
I don't even.
I like third-person storytelling. That's my favorite style. Of literature. You're stepping out, and almost as if you're watching overhead of the events unfold. No, I mean that's like I have a trouble with first-person account fiction because I've read a lot of biographies and like military books and accounts. So I always associate that style of writing with non-fiction.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes me a bit to switch my head when it's done in a fiction aspect. But the way the book Carrie was written with the snippets of interviews and that kind of piece, I just found it a difficult read, where the movie told that in a linear fashion, and actually improved. It made the book more digestible.
Did you feel the same way about Bram Stoker's Dracula? Did you feel the same way about Bram Stoker's Dracula?
No, actually, because maybe the letter, because it was done in letter writing, I found that easier because it was from one narrator.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that easier
to letters to different people about the same thing.
Yeah, like Lovecraft, like Call of Cthulhu. I find that more digestible because you've got the character picking up the letters, and reading. I don't know. I find that easier to translate, but I just find Carrie itself, the written story, a bit all over the place because of the way it was like fragmented.
Huh.
It's been a while since I read it, but I just remember that being a problem. Just hard to bring that across.
Yeah,
that's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I think ultimately with the difference between Barker and King is I think they both had horrible films that are adapted from their work. They both had pretty decent. I think King has had more success in film, of course.
Yeah, and that's where
it could also just be the fact that King is an American and American studios, and it could be that Barker is UK and it doesn't have the same connection just with, I don't know, I would hate to say proximity, but
Well, no,
No,
that's
well,
not
actually,
true, 'cause
what we're going
about
to
the
talk
time.
about is Candyman. We're going to do that. The finish up the original one, and the difference between that movie and the book is crossed a completely different cultural message,
Mhm.
and that'll be a good one when we dive into it.
Yeah.
Because the
Which
story,
is funny because that is a UK movie, but it's set here,
Mhm.
and it's so very American by damn near non-Americans.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be a fun one to talk about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that'll be one where it's just an hour and a half of me jerking off. So brace yourself, folks.
You get a wee windscreen wiper on your cam. Wait.
Right?
Oh, he's still there, right? Lovely. Right.
Ow.
On that note, obviously, guys, thanks for jumping this one.
That's the cue.
That's a cue. Cameron's talking about his dick again. Let's get off.
As the algorithms, the gods of the algorithms start sinners. Oh my god, there's this wee guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, you know about we talk about fingering each other's buttholes in this channel. You know about live with it." I'm like, "Mate, that's not the worst thing. Fucking that's tape. If that's all you think's rude, fucking come over here for a bit. We can end the one."
Oh no, Chris, you're misunderstanding. It doesn't take that long. It's just going to be a compulsion. Like you get like a 5-10 minute refractory period. You rehydrate and then you go again.
Yep. Raid. Is it the second story in book 1? No, book 4. The guy with the eternal law bone.
Oh, I don't remember
The
that.
fucking the one in the lab with the monkeys. The Barker one.
Okay, no, I have read that one.
It's been a long time. I don't remember that at all.
Oh, for fuck's sake! Right, hang on.
Like us doing this is me rereading these stories from when
The
I was
Inhuman Condition.
young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Inhuman Condition.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
they did the experiment on the monkeys with the fucking sex hormones, and then the fucking experiment on this bloke who just has a permanent fucking law board and goes and shags everything, even fucking holes in walls. Like that's. I'd love to see an adaptation of that.
Right.
He even rapes a policeman or trying to capture him. Fucking
fuck yeah, we need that movie.
Yeah,
we could do like a version of that on Man Camp.
Done. All right, Colin, you got a little less than a month to figure out how to get your ass over here. So get on that.
All right, I'll
just put on a mustache. That's all you need.
And
no
a
one will
top
recognize you.
and a cape.
Yeah.
Really tie it all together.
Yeah.
Do the willow goatee from the series.
Oh God, don't. I hate Disney, but I'm glad they erased that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Well, guys, thanks again, and as usual, keep updated with the channel, do the typey clicky things, and until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.
Horrific.